In this video, you're going to get a bit of experience working with AsyncAwait. There are a couple of different challenges we're going to work through, and the first challenge is going to require you to convert both getCountry and getLocation from being regular functions to being async of functions that use the await operator. So there are two steps for this first challenge. Right here, step 1, you're going to convert getCountry to an async function that uses await. Step 2, you're going to convert getLocation to an async function that uses await. Now you shouldn't need to make any changes to the code in app.js that uses those two functions. Everything that's over here can stay. It's perfectly fine the way it is. What we want to do is just change the function definitions themselves, switching them to async functions and using await instead of using then to chain together various pieces of code. So take some time to actually convert those two functions using the techniques we explored in the last video when we converted getPuzzle. Test your work by saving the changes to this file, and hopefully you still see the exact same thing, which is the full country of the location you are currently in. All right, that is it for the setup. Pause the video, knock it out. When you're done, come back and click play. How'd you do? Let's go ahead and kick things off by converting getCountry. Step 1, we want to make it an async function, so let's put async up front, but that's not what we really want to do. What we really want to do is take advantage of await. So we're going to go ahead and restructure the code down below. I'm going to go ahead and kick things off by taking the fetch call, copying it, and pasting it up above. So right here, const response equals, we're going to await the fetch call, and now we're going to be able to do something with the information. Right here, if response.status is indeed equal to 200, what are we going to do? We are going to go ahead and parse that data. So const data equals, we're going to await response.json to get the JSON information, and now we're going to be able to actually find the country. So down below, we had to use then to get the parsed data, and then we used this code to filter the data, finding the correct country. We can take this line, copy it, and paste it up above inside of the if statement's code block to correctly return the country. Now, what if the status is not 200? In that case, we just use else, and we throw an error. Throw new error. We can print a message, unable to fetch the country. Perfect. With this in place, we're all done with the code down below. There's no need to leave this around. We can delete it. And now we've successfully converted getCountry from a regular function to an async function that uses await. We use await once with the promise that comes back from fetch. We use await again with the promise that comes back from JSON. Now we can go ahead and save this file to make sure that things are working so far. I'm still getting United States of America, which is good. Let's go ahead and finish off this first challenge by converting getLocation. Right here, we're going to make this an async function by setting up async. Then we're going to take our fetch call and await this. I'll copy it. Up above, const response equals our fetch call with await up front. That would be right here. And then what are we going to do? We're going to stick with our status checking. So right here, if response.status equals 200, we're going to go ahead and do one thing. Otherwise, we'll do something else. I'm going to throw a new error, and we'll just put a message in here, unable to get the current location. Awesome. Now we still want to put our success code inside of the if statement's code block. In this case, we have a couple of options. Maybe you did use await to get data and then you returned data, but in that case, it would be just as easy to return response.json. Because in the end of the day, we still want to provide everything on the JSON information, unlike with getCountry, where we just provide one country, and puzzle, where we just provide the puzzle property. So this is a perfectly valid way to set things up. I'm going to go ahead and delete the old code, and there we have it. We have a new version of getLocation that uses async. Much easier to work with and reason about. Now we can go ahead and remove the challenge comments and actually test things out. Right here, we're going to save the requests file. Notice we haven't made a single change to app.js. And over here, we are indeed still getting the country. United States of America is showing up because that is the location that I'm currently in. This is all happening not because we have the old code running, but because we have the new code running with async and await. Now let's go ahead and move on to the second challenge for this video. Up above, I got some comments describing what I'd like you to do for that. The big picture goal is to create a new function that uses AsyncAwait. So the new function is going to be called getCurrentCountry, and it's not going to require any arguments. It is going to return a promise that resolves the country object for your current location. So getCurrentCountry behind the scenes is going to use async and await to get the location, then get the country, and it is going to return the country it finds. This function is going to basically accomplish what we need to manually do over here. The new function will abstract all of this, allowing us to just call the single function like we do for getPuzzle up above. So real quick, I'll show you what the usage will look like. We'll call something like getCurrentCountry. I will then pass in no arguments, using then to set up my success handler. Right here for the success handler, what are we going to do? We're just going to print the country's name, country, down below, console.log, country.name, and then below that we'll use catch to catch any potential errors. And all we'll do is dump those to the console as well. So right here, console.log, printing the error message. Perfect. So this is going to be the alternative to what we have down below currently. I'm going to comment out the code down below. It is your job to make the code up above actually work as expected by creating this new function using AsyncAwait to get the location and get the country behind the scenes. So take some time to pause the video and knock this one out. When you're done, test your work by actually running the code seen here with your new function and make sure you still get the full country name printing. Pause the video. When you're done, click play. Welcome back. How'd you do? I'm going to kick things off by creating the function over in requests.js. This one is called getCurrentCountry. I can go ahead and define it right here. Const getCurrentCountry. We are going to set it up as an async function. And in this case, I'm using async with arrow functions, but it would be just as reasonable to use it with regular functions. It works with both types of functions. So right here, async. Our arrow function, we don't need any arguments. And the first thing we're going to do inside of here is get the location. So const location. We are going to await, and then we're just going to call getLocation defined down below. Once we have the location, we can call getCountry. So const country equals, we are going to await getCountry. In this case, we do have to pass in an argument that is available on location.country. This is where the country code lives. And now the last thing we need to do is just return the country. So return country just like this. And there it is. That's all we have to do to create a function that combines our other asynchronous functions. Pretty easy process to go through. Let's go ahead and remove those challenge comments and make sure things actually work. I'm going to save requests.js. I'm also going to save app.js after removing the example down below. And once the program reruns, what do we get? We get United States of America for me, and that is coming from app.js on line 22, which is exactly where we have our new console.log, the one that uses the getCurrentCountry function. Now over inside of requests.js, you might have structured this a bit differently. As we explored down below, we don't need to await something just to return it. We could just as easily return the thing itself. So this code here is identical to the following, where I just directly return getCountry, not using await at all, and that allows me to remove the other line down below. This also gets the job done. It's going to have the exact same effect, though honestly, either way works just fine. This way, if we save the file, we still get the exact same information from the same line number. So the program is still working as expected using both approaches. Neither approach is faster or slower than the other. They both still have to wait for both of the HTTP requests to complete. But as always, I just want to show you a few different ways you can structure your code. And that's where I'd like to stop for this one. We went through a couple of challenges, converting some functions to async functions and creating a new async function, allowing us to simplify our code. And that's where we're going to stop learning new features for asynchronous programming in JavaScript. We covered quite a bit in this section, and what I want to do for the rest of the section, just the next video or two, is actually wire this up with the Hangman game. So we're going to actually get the puzzle and pass that to new Hangman, and we're also going to add a way for the user to reset and fetch a new puzzle using the new one instead. I'm excited to actually integrate this into our application as a whole, so let's go ahead and jump right into the next video where we get that done.